Some of the Huntington hypotheses suggest that the fundamental source of conflict in the New World will not be primarily ideological or economic. The great division among humankind and the dominating source of conflict will be cultural. The clash of civilizations will dominate global politics, and traditional rivalries between nation-states will return. Now it is far more meaningful to group countries not in terms of their political or economic systems, but rather in terms of their culture and civilization. Huntington also predicted that the world will be shaped in large measure by eight or seven main civilizations, which will be Western, Confucian, Japanese, Islamic, Slavic Orthodox, Hindu, Latin American, and possibly African. A civilization is defined as the highest cultural grouping of people and the broadest level of cultural identity people have shared of which distinguishes human from other species. Civilizations are differentiated from each other by their language, tradition, customs, but mainly religion. As people define their identity in ethnic and religious terms, they are likely to see an us versus them. The clash of civilization occur at two levels: the micro level, where adjacent groups along the fault lines between civilizations struggle over power of territory and each other, and the macro level, where the nations compete for military and economic power and promote their particular political and religious values.
Liberalism is a political doctrine that takes place protecting and enhancing the freedom of the individual to be the central problem of politics. Liberals typically believe that the government is necessary. It has to protect the individuals from being harmed by others, but they also have to recognize that the government itself can be also a threat to the liberties of the people. Something very fundamental has happened. The peace seems to be breaking out in many regions of the world. The century that began full of enthusiasm and self-confidence seems to be returning where it all started. United capitalism and socialism, or the victory of liberalism. Karl Marx believed that the direction of the historical development was determined by the direction of the material forces. The state that emerges at the end of history is liberal because it recognizes and protects everybody by the laws, by the and demands universal right to freedom. Cobain, for Cobain, this is called universal homogeneous state, in which all human needs are satisfied and there are no needs for generals or statesmen. The most important thing is the economic activity. Hegel believed that the real world could not be confronted with ideological perceptions. In countries like China and the Soviet Union, this type of governments have worked very well, and we can recognize that the ideological incentives cannot replace the material ones because they create more conflict between the people and even the governments.
It isn't a contradiction that the government can also represent a threat for liberty. Well, about what you said, it might be true that liberalism has worked out for the past years, but the world is changing. Professor Roberto Stephen Foy and Jacques Chamon pointed out that three phenomena could be observed that show a clear tendency towards the decline of liberal democracies. On the one hand, there is a combination of support for authoritarian regimes. Second, a large number of individuals do not see democratic systems as possible and desirable as it seems. And finally, in relation to all the above, citizens do not consider essential the fact of living in a system that is defined as democratic. The realistic theory, which is the opposite of the liberalism, despite being one of the oldest, continue giving a current explanation of the behavior of international relations. The world changes, therefore international relations also. Increasingly, countries are returning to realism, so there is a high probability that the hypothesis that Huntington proposes in his article ends up fulfilling, and nations are grouped according to its cultural characteristics in civilizations. Each one follows and defends its own interest, making the West not the only one strong and influential. Realism explains the motivations of states as a simple self-interest system through the practice of power politics on the world stage. Realism explains the self-interest under which all states operate as the most important factor in the cause of nations different from guided moral behavior.
I have a question for you. What Huntington is saying is that the nation states will completely disappear and that groups within a civilization will not conflict and even not fight each other because that seems impossible to me. Responding to you, the egalitarianism of modern America represents the essential achievement of Marx having a classless society. This means that there will not be any types of they cannot be better classes than other. They will, and this doesn't mean that they are not going to be rich people, but they are going only to be remains of racism and slavery or even poverty. In Japan, some potential and economic rules of liberalism were implanted, and even though the most important one have been implanted to Japanese traditions, this country had followed the USA by creating a universal consumer culture and underpinning of the natural homogeneous state, and this is an example of economic success. A country can have back the restoration of authority with some sort of new ideology. Liberalism was a direct consequence of the weakness of the religion because they didn't give them what they needed, and these things may mm, be represented by peace or stability. People didn't feel safe only by having the support of the Catholic Church. There have been a lot of wars and revolutions being fought in the name of ideologies, claiming that they were more advanced and intelligent than liberalism. The majority of that wars failed.
In some countries, there are really strong ideologies of religion and they have a really strong economy, like the Arab Emirates. They don't need to have the idea of the universal homogeneous state. What makes you think that they will be better with liberalism? And answering to your question, Huntington clarifies that civilization identities will not replace all other identities, but does set forth the hypothesis that differences between civilizations are real and important. Civilization consciousness is increasing. Conflict between civilizations will supply ideological and other forms of conflict as the dominant global form of conflict. International relations, historically a game played out within Western civilizations, will increasingly be de-Westernized and become a game in which non-Western civilizations are actors and not simply objects. Violent conflict between groups in different civilizations are the most likely and most dangerous source of escalation that could lead to global wars. The paramount axis of world politics will be the relations between the West and the rest. Non-Western civilizations have attempted to become modern without becoming Western, and the only nation that has achieved that with success is Japan. Non-Western civilizations will continue to attempt to acquire the wealth, technology, skills, machines, and weapons that are part of being modern. But they will also attempt to reconcile this modernity with their traditional culture and values. In the future, there will be no universal civilizations, but instead a world of different civilizations, each of which will have to learn to coexist with the others.
Answering to your question, the thing that I think that the ideologies make everything kind of worse is because they make people separate and even create hatred between each other because they don't share the same ideologies as everybody. So I think that that causes an instability, and in in an extreme point, it maybe can cause war more easily. And Kobe said that understanding the underlying processes of history requires to get the most important development in the area of ideas. A homogeneous state will have success through the material world. That this means that democracy is more easy to get in touch with the economics area. The people have become more into get access to the consumer culture such as China, and this has helped to expand the economic liberalism throughout the world. For example, in China, the liberalism idea got there, and it started expanding throughout all the world in a really small amount of time. And is the death of ideology means the growing of the common marketization of international relations, and eventually the conflicts between states will decrease because they the people won't have many differences, and this will, in a large term, create less problems. But this doesn't mean that it won't make them disappear. There are going to be still wars and things like that, but in a less